Bray Wyatt is like a prime example of like stepping away. Whether it was, I know he'd gotten injured, he was out for a while, but he clearly utilized that time to completely put into motion everything that he had been planning, and now it's paying off massively. Even I feel like with all this coronavirus stuff going on, it's still for him. It still plays really well into his character. He can still kind of sustain this. He doesn't need like a live audience necessarily, and he doesn't need to wrestle every week, and it's perfect.
And I thought it was actually interesting his first promo when they did it without the audience. It almost felt creepier in a sense for him, like not having the audience there. Uh, you know, it fit his character. Just that promo in isolation of just his voice and the words he was using just felt creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy and intimate. Like, I
Yeah,
liked it.
yeah, and you could probably say the same thing with like the whole Orton and Edge angle, where it's like the audience just adds. It's a very like hit and miss type of thing because I feel like for promos, the audience is not necessary. That's how I feel. I think it adds an energy, and obviously you want to promote your shows live at the events. But I feel like especially for pre-recorded promos, you don't need an audience reaction. Like you don't need that. All you need is the commitment to the character and what's being said and the story that's being told. That's all you really need. And it seems like a lot of these wrestlers, whether it's because they don't know how to act in front of a crowd or they're just being handed a script and they're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? This is not at all what I would say. And they're just trying to make it work. It just isn't working anymore. Like the crowd 100% impacts a wrestler like The Rock or Stone Cold. They like them and the crowd have this working relationship that they amplify each other in a way. Yes. And I feel like that's what makes them so electrifying to watch and to listen to is they have a working relationship with the audience. It doesn't matter if it's a 6-year-old or if it's a 46-year-old. Everybody knows who The Rock is. Everybody knows who Stone Cold is. And if you don't know who he is, it doesn't matter because you'll get to know him like soon enough. So it just works. So I don't know if that's just the quality of wrestler. I don't know if that's the whole scripting problem. I don't know. It's so hard to decipher. But
yeah, and I feel like the crowd just derails promos sometimes, and it's like, sometimes it's a promo you want to hear, it's a person you want to hear, and you want to hear how they want to convey it for their character, but then you have the crowd, maybe they're not into it and they're chanting something, and I'm sure the wrestler in the ring doesn't feel good when they're talking shit, even if they're supposed to be a good character and the audience is chanting some "this is boring" stuff. Like, yeah, it's good to have that live feedback, but at the same time, like, give it a shot. Maybe that promo would have been better pre-recorded on a camera. I don't know.
And that, I mean, you've had experience with shows with theater. I've had experience with shows, live audience shows, and obviously with music. Like we've said things to the audience and stuff. But like when you're looking for a certain reaction, especially when you've rehearsed something and you know how it's supposed to go, and you're really seeking out a certain reaction, if you get the opposite of that reaction, it's gonna throw you off. Like,
people, for sure.
That's just how it is. Like people who claim that it doesn't matter, like, well, just keep going or what. Like, yes, that's true in the sense of just like, let's just keep pushing through. But it does throw you off. It does affect you. And it, as a performer, it freaks you out. And even in a positive way, like if you're expecting people to hate what you're doing and they end up loving it, oftentimes you see that on the wrestlers' faces too, where they don't see that coming and they're like, oh, all right, I guess, okay, cool. Like, but if you're a heel in the wrestling world and the wrestling rules, if you're a heel, are you supposed to be getting cheered? Because I'm sure on television and movies and in theater, if you're a bad guy and you're making people laugh, you're doing something wrong. Like it's just kind of a rule. Like if you're supposed to be the bad guy, people have to dislike you. And you have to kind of go with the protocol to make that happen and just hope that people kind of go with what's happening. But it seems nowadays like things are so weird. It's like the crowd wants to boo baby faces, cheer heels, and like go against kind of the agreement. And I feel like kids are always on point. I don't know. Like I feel like the kids always kind of boo who they need to boo and cheer who they need to cheer, and the adults kind of mess everything up. Like they influence the kids too much, you know?
That's very true.
But it's odd because like we've been to shows like WWE shows, and I like before we started going, I was kind of mixed on John Cena. I was a massive John Cena fan when I was a kid. I think everybody was. Like, you know, the '06, '07 time frame. But you know, through the later years I kind of just, you know, I was a fan of more of the heel type characters, so I didn't like him as much. But when we went to go see them live and he came out, I couldn't help but like get fired up. I don't know what happened, but I became a John Cena fan immediately, like instantly. I don't know how, but it just happened, and I felt compelled to cheer for him. And like even when people around me were booing for him, I felt like I had to cheer. Like the child in me wanted to cheer for John Cena. I don't get it, but that's just
He
what it was.
and that's just him as a person, I think, and that's why he was able to transcend WWE. He's not a part really anymore, and he's out there making movies
Still
and
relevant. Yeah.
successful. Like, and that's kind of what worries me about the current state of WWE. We don't have, in my eyes, we don't have anyone that transcends the WWE right now. There's nobody outside of WWE that is important, let's say. Like someone outside who doesn't watch wrestling, who are they going to know? Who are they going to care about?
Yeah. It's true.
And John Cena had that for a long time.